This is the third in a series of readings of my short stories that I'm compiling. This one is called Jawbone. His name is Richard, but everybody's called him Jawbone since the accident. It was long ago, 33 years this December. He remembers it only in flashes of black and instants of pain, twitches and recoils at loud sounds and sudden movement. He was driving home from Michigan, just past the Indiana border, where you could go to a bar at 18 and be served. All the Indiana kids did it, or at least all that Richard knew. The reasoning went that if you could shoot a man dead for your country in a rice paddy halfway around the world, you should sure as hell be able to order a beer in your own hometown. The changes would come later with the federal government threatening to withhold highway funds, forcing the morality of the few on the many. But in those days the states had rights, and his said he couldn't order a bourbon and coke, while Michigan said he could. So on a cold December night when the air was frigid and the first warm place he thought of was Roscoe's Bar in Union, he drove there with every intention of making it home, as whole as he'd left. That was not the case. A pickup truck coming in the opposite direction in a snowstorm saw to that. He doesn't remember the impact, except in his cells and his misshapen face. He doesn't remember the other driver, an old local man who lived half a mile from the accident site and who made it through without a scratch. He had not been wearing his seat belt, expecting not to need one. All he really remembers is the shock on people's faces when they saw him in the hospital. The nurses, the doctor, his parents. To a one, their mouths dropped open and tears filled their eyes. Could a boy who looks like this live? It's like going through life without a nose, or with your ears missing. That's how surprising it was. And then the pretense, the obvious conflict on their faces, as they told him they loved him while they tried mightily not to look away. He could see them asking themselves the truth of their own assumptions. He's my son, but he scares me. He's my child, but he makes me want to vomit. Jawbone, as appropriate a nickname as ever there was, and now, all these years later, he sits alone in a house. First his father left when he died, then his mother, then the cat that outlived them both. The same house he failed to recover in, the house children kept their distance from, cautioned by their parents to steer clear. Oh, not because the nice man who lived there had half a face. They would never be so blunt. But because the lawn was raggedy and snakes might curl up there, or because they weren't sure anyone was still alive behind the filthy windows. Anything but the truth. He had been frightening them for decades, and no amount of reconstructive surgery would change that.